Are you welcome? And welcome. What?
Are you
Cut that.
welcome?
That's all gone wrong.
Are
Let's
they?
just cut that. Let's cut that out and start again. Hello and welcome to the Kimbley IT podcast. I'm James, the founder of Kimbley IT, and I'm joined today with Carl, the director of technology, who's ill but recovering quickly or slowly.
Not too bad, thanks, James. Yeah, one of those nasty bugs. My family had it all last week. I thought I'd managed to avoid it, and then it got me yesterday. So last night I spent one of those nights where you're just really hot temperature, and so today I'm just a bit groggy and tired because I didn't have a good night's sleep. But I'm recovering.
Both the same in that case, then. Not that I'm ill, I just didn't have a good night's sleep.
Oh, right, okay.
So should we get on to our recap of the previous week?
Yes, indeed.
You were quite busy last week, actually, because you were down in Milton. Were you in Milton Keynes for the go live? You should have been.
I did. Yeah. I went down to our new client in Milton Keynes, drove down there to start in the morning with them. That was good. Accountancy firm based outside of Milton Keynes, so rather a nice bit of the countryside out there on one of those offices that are built like on a farm estate. They've been converted barns and stuff like that. It's really quite nice. And helped those guys get started. We'd moved all their data over and things like that and got them up and running. They were all really enthusiastic and they got on with it dead easy. It was good.
Well, while you were doing that, I was over at one of our really long-time clients, helping them with a new starter to come on board. And it'd been the first time that I had driven to an office in rush hour traffic for many years. And I can't believe that businesses still force employees to go in at a certain time between 9 to 5. And that kind of generated a blog that's on our website now, escaping the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. It's just nuts forcing employees to go through, because I'd figured it out that you have something like 780,000 lifetime, I'm calling them lifetime hours.
Right, yes.
If you live to 90, it's about 780,000 lifetime hours you've got there. And if you're traveling to work twice a day at 1 hour, let's say around 1 hour there and 1 hour back, 700 hours a year, that is, of your lifetime being wasted away in a car because a company insists on you being in their office.
Yeah.
When what they could do is say, you know what, come in a bit later. It's only going to take you half an hour to get in, maybe less. And you're just saving time there, being more productive.
Yep, absolutely. I ate the same thing when I was traveling as well. I was going down to Milton Keynes for early in the morning, so I ate the same. Ridiculous amounts of traffic on the motorway. Chaos.
Yeah, Milton Keynes is a difficult junction to get off as well. There's normally a queue unless they've redesigned it since the last time I was down there. There's normally like a queue on the junction to get off the motorway, backing down onto the motorway.
Yeah, it was mostly bad around Coventry Way, to be honest, on the M6. That was the part that was really bad.
Is that still 3 lanes or is it a smart motorway now?
I think it's being built still. It's not a smart motorway yet.
This is the one thing that annoys me about smart motorways. So I'm going on to a mini rant, totally unrelated. Truck drivers. When a smart road motorway is turned on and you can use the hard shoulder, they never drive down the hard shoulder. They still stay in the lane that they would if the smart motorway mode isn't turned on.
Right.
Which is lane, I guess that's called lane 1, and they call the hard shoulder lane 0. But surely they should move across into lane 0 to clear up the three main roads for faster vehicles. Because you're meant to be, if there's nothing in front of you, you should be over to the left-hand side in the slowest lane if there's nothing in front of you and you're not overtaking. But next time you go on a smart motorway and all 4 lanes are open, just watch the truck drivers. They never go down the hard shoulder lane.
All right, okay, I'll keep an eye out.
Even when it's perfectly allowed for them to do it, there's no rules saying you only can be in this lane if you're getting off at the next junction. They'll never go down it, which in some places isn't a bad thing because it gives me my own private lane that I can just shoot past all the truck drivers. But really, they should be moving across and freeing up the main 3 lanes for everyone else. But watch it, and you'll spot they never move across.
Well, all these things need to change, don't they? These are where all the issues lie. Say we're moving too many people around. Most of the cars have got 1 person in them. A lot more of this stuff could be done productively by people working from home 1 or 2, 3 days a week more, and we're just reducing the amount of traffic. And I still can't work out, James, why when it's half term, the whole road network's just better. So why? I don't get that. When the kids are off school, everything's better. It's just better all week, all hours.
It's I have thought of that because it's kind of interesting because you've only got a window when the kids are going to school and coming out of school, but the whole day is better when the schools aren't about.
And is that because parents don't go to work? Some of them take time off, holidays, etc., to coincide.
Yeah, but the thing doesn't make any sense, because even if they were at school, you'd expect to have this window in the morning and the window at the afternoon where the traffic's bad, but then during the day it should be a lot easier.
Yep.
But when it's not on at all, because all the kids will be in school during the day, but even when school's not on at all, the roads are much, much quieter all through the day. Or maybe that's just something we're perceiving.
Yeah,
Maybe schools aren't on.
Could be a perception.
Actually, it's, if we took some statistics, there's not much difference.
No, you're probably right. It probably is the way that we view it. Now, one thing I discovered while I was bringing that customer live is one of the classics. At that office, they'd got serviced broadband provided for them. So they didn't actually have their own broadband. It was provided in the office for them.
Yeah.
The device that was providing the broadband, I noticed, was no password, no security, all default settings, and facing the internet with the default settings as well, which is not a good thing to be, because you're bound to be part of some sort of botnet, or you've got very, very likely that some automated hacking tool is going to take control of your device and use the control power of that device for something else and make your internet feel like it's slow.
Yep.
So I fixed that for them, but it was unsurprising again to find IT that was poorly done.
Oh, so when you sent me a photo, didn't you, that you were able to just log into everything because it's all in the defaults?
Yeah, that's right.
And later that week, they got their G Suite training again by Lauren from CloudShed.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and they had a really good time with that, and it went really well for them.
Training's always good, and it's an interesting thing. Training is, because it really shows which employers, and which business owners see value in things that you can't physically touch. So you can't physically touch training, but someone who accepts having their employees trained realizes that there's a time gain to be had from that. So the transaction, the value that they're paying for the training, and the time they're getting back from that training because of improved productivity is greater. But you'll quite often come across business owners that don't see that, because they can't visualize that timing and that productivity that they're gaining afterwards.
Yeah, many, particularly with IT training.
Yeah,
because again, we've discussed this before on the podcast. There's no regulation. There's no penalty either for a mistake in IT, particularly that's perceived by anybody. So, for example, there's no health and safety risk of someone dying directly from the poor use of IT equipment.
Not in the industries we deal with, anyway.
No, that's right. There might well be in healthcare and other things like that. But if somebody badly uses a spreadsheet and it takes them twice as long, that's not going to cost anyone their life, but it is costing them money. They don't see that. And there's no legal requirement to have any IT training whatsoever in any business, unless it's part of some other kind of regulatory permission.
Yeah.
So nobody does. And hence we have generation after generation of people who are poor at using computer systems.
Yeah, so as we said, they just don't see the value of the vast majority of business owners, and the ones that do are always the greatest to work with.
Yep, absolutely agree. So yes, they had their training, that's gone well, and they've had a good time so far with that.
So again, while you were doing that, I was helping a client organize their data in Google Drive. So they've been using Google Drive for, since it first came out, which I think is probably 2012. I think Google Drive first came out in 2012. So they've been using it right from the start. 6-point-something terabytes of data in their Google Drive. But a lot of it was still in the old My Drive area, because Team Drives came out maybe 24 months ago now, which is a much better way to organize your data per client. But they had a lot of data that was left over from external contractors and people that had left the business. Just all needed organizing, moving back into Team Drives, having to do some fiddly bits, because as you know, Google Drive at the moment, it doesn't let you put documents that are owned by somebody externally into a Team Drive when it's been stored in a different location. So there are ways around that, but you have to do a lot of stuff in the back end to do that. So it's helping them with getting their data organized, and that's massively helped. The girl I was assisting has massively helped her. She can actually find things now in her Google Drive, and she's got it really easy to get to stuff. So again, it's speed. She's got a massive speed gain there of finding the data, because she was struggling.
Where was the problem with finding the data for them, for this person? Because the volume of it, just so much.
The volume of it, and the fact is that there was lots of untitled documents there.
Yeah, because obviously the search feature of Google is excellent, so you can find things pretty well with a search pretty easily.
To be fair, it does struggle with the vast volumes of data, because the thing with Google search is it's when you're looking for a document, it's normally context document. You don't write who the person it was from. You write something that was inside the document.
Yeah.
And so you might write a phrase in it, but then you get like 7 or 8 different documents come back that actually have that same phrase in it.
Yeah.
And that's when you've got a vast amount of data. It can get more awkward. You can always go into the more advanced stuff search, but that requires you to remember who else might be who sent it to you, or something else about it, another bit of detail about that document.
So what you're saying there is that although search tools are fantastic and brilliant and we should use them, having a structure and having some semblance of organization to your data is still important.
Yeah, so they now use the file naming structure that we've come up with, that we've passed on to them, and they use that now, and that helps massively, because it just gives you a clue in the file name of what that's about before you open it.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, at the moment, AI is not good enough to be able to structure your data for you. You've still got to structure it. Once you've got it structured, then the searching and other facilities will work a lot better in managing that data for you.
Well, we'll welcome that time. Yeah, I've started to see some of that with the beta of priority that we've got in Drive at the moment.
Yep.
And it's been okay. It's kind of hard for us to tell because there's only 2 of us, so it's kind of hard to tell. It would be better if there was more of us we could see the data from. I had more people in a team, for example. It was suggesting that I was working with those people more than other people and stuff like that. But I've got a feeling that priority in Drive will be really, really good when it's ready, when it goes live.
It was kind of good for me when I was setting up a workspace. So it kind of worked out that we're doing an office move for a client, helping them in it. And it suggested some documents that they'd created that I might want to put in the workspace that they shared with me. Which was it was kind of useful, because I didn't realize they'd shared these documents with me, because they'd never told me. But it found these documents, so I could put them in.
That is pretty helpful. So the client in question had shared some documents with you from their own Google Drive. You weren't aware of it because they'd either not told you or you'd missed the notification. Probably not told. And then it actually, Google looks inside the customer's drive against your drive and says all this stuff's about the same thing you're talking about. That is intelligent. That is clever stuff.
Yeah, so it did that for me, which was pretty smart. It's still in beta as well, so you can't get it yet if you're listening in. But when you do get it, it's really quite a nice way to organize your data. And what with the workspaces as well, they're going to make them shareable. So if I create a workspace on a project, I can then share it with other people that are working on it, so they get that workspace already in their Google Drive, rather than us all having to build our own separate workspaces.
Oh, that's good, because then the project leader or somebody
exactly
workspace and share it with everybody else in the teams.
Yeah. The PM can create one and then just share it out and know that everyone's got their documents in that workspace and there's not any missing.
Everything continues to be shaving. You're not shaving hours off time. You're shaving minutes. None of this is about a solution that's going to suddenly save you half a day's worth of work. That's not how it works.
All adds up.
Yeah, it all adds up. That's right. But it's not coming in one chunk. It's coming in little bits.
That's the biggest difference between G Suite and Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office 365 is like annual updates, and that's when you get massive changes and you've got to relearn how to do stuff. The difference with G Suite is it's lots and lots of small updates that take place all the time throughout the year. So you have no one big massive change that you've got there relearn stuff because the UI has been changed around or something like that. It's just lots and lots of small ones. So you don't even realize you're learning it. You just know, oh, that button used to be there. Now it's there, but it also has this that it does as well, which it didn't do before. And that, simple to learn that is when it's a small change each day.
Yep.
So data recovery, I did the data recovery so we've got a legacy client, I'm going to call them. They're actually our first business client I ever signed up back in like I don't know when it was. It's probably 2010 or something like that, 2011. And they're just a very small funeral directors over in Warsaw. They have a slightly different weird package compared to all our other clients just because of their legacy. And they'd not been backing up their data properly.
No.
So they had a computer fail. Luckily, the hard drive was fine. It was more of a boot loop and a BIOS error. So I was able to get onto the hard drive using my favorite operating system, Ubuntu. Just love that operating system on the computer. It just looks good and it's just nice. Ubuntu. It's just there's nothing I can run on it that's useful.
Yeah.
For me anyway. But yeah, I was able to use that and get on there and get the data off that they'd got trapped onto the hard drive.
Yeah.
So they are.
Yeah, you got them out. You got them out. Stuck there, really.
Yeah, and then told them how they should have been backing up their data and where they should have been saving it to, rather than saving it into the default location of something program files xxx / something other and into that folder.
Again, it was another example of where the person who's using the computer doesn't know anything about how the computer works. They just use it, and they don't understand that the data that's part of the system, and in this case, it was the designs for engraving on tombstones. Is that right?
Yeah. So the problem they have here is because it's a small business. It's a family business, so the father runs the business, but unfortunately he's ill with cancer at the moment, and so his family have come in to help keep the business going, running it. And of course, he knew it's all in his head. He knew what he needed to do and where to keep this data saved and backed up, so there wasn't any problems. But that information hadn't been passed on or trained on to his children who are helping out in the business. So they've been saving it in a different location for the last whatever it is, year or so, and no one had told them about it. No one knew about it. No one had told them they were saving it in the wrong location. They didn't know they were saving it in the wrong location because they hadn't got a document or an operations document or anything written down for them to know. And if you don't know if you don't know what you should be asking, you're not going to go and ask, where should I be saving this? You're just going to assume it's all right. And yeah, it came along and bit them in the arse, but luckily we've been able to save that stuff for them.
Yeah. Yes, a good job.
So the coming week, I see that you've got a discovery meeting.
I don't know. I have a meeting with somebody tomorrow who I met at a Vistage event recently. I've met them before, and I know they know what I do, what we do, and they were saying to me, look, I've got to get into cloud and I've got to get rid of that server in my office. You and I should meet up. So it's one of those. It could be something, it might not be something, but it's only down the road in Ironbridge for a cup of coffee. So it's not, it's a mile out, gets me out of the house, and that's not a big issue. And we'll see what's going on with
the big thing. The big thing we've got next week is a thing called Be More Birmingham, creative regional event that we're going to.
Yes.
So that's over in Digbeth, but it's got some really great speakers. So you've got the Mayor of the West Midlands, Andy Street, talking. A guy called Stephen Knight, who's apparently a writer and director, and I think he's linked to
Peaky Blinders and all that.
Yeah, Peaky Blinders. Some MBEs and OBEs there. So it should be quite interesting listening to these people talking and seeing what they've got to say.
Yes.
It's all tech-based, creative tech-based, and they're the type of businesses we work with. So it's just great for us to go in there and have a chat, see if there's anyone interested in there, see if there's anyone we can partner with, just see what cool things are going on in Birmingham, really, that we're not aware of.
Yes.
And how we can promote their stuff for them.
Yeah, it's quite good, that. And it's a free event as well.
Yeah, it's limited numbers as well, but luckily we both got tickets.
Indeed.
This morning, it's hosted by, I think it's hosted by Film Birmingham.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I look forward to that. I'm interested to see if anyone recognises our brand from all the sponsoring we've been doing in Birmingham recently. So we'll be sponsoring the Twitter Brum Hour, and we're also now sponsors of Love Brum, and see how our brand awareness campaigns are going on.
Well, that would be interesting to see, yes, because we've still got, 2 more to go in March on Brum Hour?
We've got the whole of April, I believe.
Oh, we're in April. Oh, yeah, of course you are. They're not starting again until May, so yeah, we've still got quite a long time to go on that.
Yeah, and we're just getting more and more noticed as we promote ourselves more and more. I'm just going back to the show notes now. So yeah, that's basically what's coming up in the next week. There are always going to be things that drop in. So I've decided what we're going to do, because we haven't got a guest on this week, that we're going to change the interview section into a focus section where we're going to talk about a specific thing that we've noticed and just go do a bit of a deep dive on it. So I was thinking about the boundaries of IT support. So in my experience, and I know it's probably the same for you in your 20 years of experience, that clients can struggle to see the difference between where IT support ends and where project work begins.
Yes.
You've come across that many a times, I guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because when somebody takes you on as IT support, they go, "Oh, you're the expert. Thank goodness you're here," and everybody's happy. And yeah, we'll look after you. And this unspoken thing happens that they believe you'll take care of everything in the future related to their phone system, their offices, the electrics, building management system, anything, that you'll take care of it. And that if it's not buying PCs or servers, as it was back in my previous business, you're not buying some kit. it was understood that that would probably just get sorted out for me instead of sitting down and saying, hey, I've got a project coming up in which I'm going to expand my office. What do I need to do? What do you guys need to do to help me achieve that? And
how much is it going to cost? Yeah, I've had it happen quite a few times in the past, and it's just it's always awkward, always a difficult conversation that comes up. But you get alerted that something's going to happen going on in the future. They ask a couple of questions, you give them a bit of advice about those questions, and then it just kind of becomes a waterfall from there, where more and more expectation is put on you, rather than them realizing it's a project work and that it should be handled slightly differently.
Yeah, it comes under that name of project creep, but it's like the creep's already started before the project started.
Yeah, and if you've got someone who's reasonable people, they'll recognise that, and when you bring it up, that won't be an issue. But then you do get odd people who don't actually seem to understand that, hey, this is a project and it needs to be put into this box here. It needs to be priced up. It needs to be marked up. It needs to be specifying what our responsibilities are, what your responsibilities are, and how this is going to proceed. And we've had it where clients haven't even told us dates when they're moving. It's like we're an afterthought. So your whole IT is going to be a bit of an afterthought getting it in there because you didn't bother telling us the dates you'd be moving in by. And then it just delays things because it's just bad communication when it's not done as a proper project.
Yeah, well, the fact that IT is still an afterthought today speaks volumes. It's a shame that that's still the case. 20 years down the line, it's still the case that it's an afterthought.
It's absolutely nuts, because without IT, you can't run a modern business.
Yes, you're right. Never more so than today. You can't run a business without your computer systems. Yet they're still thought about as the last thing to be dealt with.
There's literally two things that you can't run a business if you haven't got them. That's electricity and computers.
Yeah.
If you've got those two, you've got a good chance of being able to run a business.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous that it's such an afterthought and just completely forgotten about.
And with the way these projects work, there's two ways you can get it. We've had both of them. The client will ask you one or two questions and you'll answer them, because you're not trying to be difficult. So you just answer, yeah, I'll help you with that. I'll help you with that. You don't know there's a project at this point. They're just asking questions.
Yep.
Before you know it, oh, hang on a minute. I reckon I'm partway into a project here. I can tell. Will you come down to my new office? Will you have a look at this? Will you tell me whether that's going to be right? Oh, I see what happened.
Yeah. Because before it's always brought in like, oh, it's just a pre-discussion. Nothing's been signed yet. I haven't signed any documents that we're actually moving and all that. So I've just got these questions for you to answer. And then all of a sudden everything's signed and, oh, this is now a project. What's going on here?
Yeah, that's it. And you've got two choices at that point. You either have a difficult conversation with the customer and stop it there and then, or you carry on.
Yeah.
And if you carry on doing it, you have a very happy customer, but of course you do a lot of work for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's what they want essentially. But the skill that we've got to develop is work out when someone's having a conversation that's going projecty.
Now we've had one though. We have had one with another customer who are a little bit more clear with us. They said, "Look, guys, we've got a site. It's up in Middlesbrough. We want to kit it out with internet, Wi-Fi, cabling, etc. Would you tell us what we need?" So we said to them, "Yeah, okay. It'll cost you this much to have the survey done and proposal. For us to work it all out. It's got a cost associated with it, and it's X." And at that point, that customer said, "Okay, we think that's too expensive. Can you reduce the price?" We said, "No, we can't reduce the price. The price is what it is to do that work." And they decided to go elsewhere. Now, they've come back to us after about 9 months and asked us again, would we consider working with them on the project? We recognised that perhaps we could have been more flexible on the original price, and I offered them a more advantageous price to them for the site work, on the basis that if they go with us and if we go to the site, we do the work, and then they come back and take the project with us, we'll take off the bill for going and doing the site survey. But if they don't, and they take our quote and get a cheaper quote somewhere else, they've got to pay for it.
So in that case, we did the right thing. We spotted a project early. We told them what it would be. They said no, which was fine. Okay, we don't get the work, but at the same time, we don't have to do the work. And in this case, they come back to us still because obviously they've gone to market, I would think, and not found what they wanted from other people.
Yep.
Because you got to have the belief that what you do and the skills you've got are valuable, and that everybody else in the market who's competing with you isn't as good as you are. You can't.
Yep.
If you believe they're all as good or better than you are, and that it's only a matter of time before you get found out, you're doomed. You've got to know that you're better than other people. And so it's those kind of two ways. So we've had both of them happen to us in the last 6 months. We will see now that hardball that we played at the first one will come to fruition now, and that will work in a project that works between the two businesses. I believe that if it does, it will all be agreed and everyone will get paid and it will be right now because it's been set out from the start.
Yeah, exactly. The problem we got with that one was that we did a lot of pre-work beforehand. Partly our fault. We didn't really, establish that this is going to be project work. We didn't have that project work discussion beforehand. So we went ahead, did a lot of work for them, sent them over details and the pricing. They went elsewhere. Someone else wanted to do it cheaper, this project work, installing a network. And the day they started installing, this other company was then contacting us for all the advice because they'd not had to do the pre-work that we'd had to do, which naturally made our price more expensive because we had to cover that off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting problem that all businesses face. Small businesses particularly so, because it can be much harder to say no to your customer than it is when you're a big corporate. If you're a corporate, a project doesn't happen without sign-off. But of course, then you get project creep, which is the same thing in an existing project, in which an existing project, can we just add this? And okay. Oh, you fitted all that bit. Yeah, I don't like it now. Can you move it to the other side of the room? And I've had all those things, a whole lot set of cabinets and stuff. Can you move them all to the other side of the room? Well, yes. Yeah, it can be done. And then there's, I don't want to pay to do it. I've changed my mind. I don't like the colour. It is very difficult to do, actually. It's a human trait that humans either specifically like to change things, want to change things, don't like to set expectations and agreements in advance. I don't know which one it is, James. It's got to be some aspect of that the human species doesn't like doing it.
Well, I was talking to another client, the guys over in Warsaw, talking to the MD there, and I've always quoted to him the Bernie Ecclestone quote. If you shake my hand and do a deal, you've got a deal for life. You make me sign an agreement, I'm going to do everything I can to try and get out of it. And that's what business seems to be about now. There's nothing that can be done just by a handshake and just gentleman agreements. It seems like you have to have these documents because people are just too untrustworthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. But both of those are, I've done deals on handshakes and things like that. And you're right. That's trust between two people, and often they can work. And I've also done the ones that require all the paperwork as well. There is no happy medium to it. There's no happy medium to business at all, because it's human beings interrelating with each other, and ultimately they're all out for themselves.
I hate that part.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I'd be happy if it's just. I can't wait till AI comes along and all I've got to do is deal with them.
Problem, isn't it? Because humans are all out for themselves ultimately, and that's what causes the problem.
Let's move on to in the news section.
Okay.
Unless you've got anything else more to add to our deep focus.
No.
So in the news, what caught my eye in the news was NatWest, I think it's NatWest, has built out they're trialing a debit card with a built-in fingerprint reader. Now, this card has been trialed in other countries, and it's been a total failure. So NatWest has thought, that sounds good. Let's bring it out into the UK and trial it here. The reason it's a failure is because it's absolutely pointless. It's fixing a problem that doesn't exist. So everyone's got a contactless credit card. Contactless credit cards gives you up to £30 to take money out of to buy things up to £30 of value. And with the fingerprint, if you've got the fingerprint, it then makes it unlimited because it's authenticated that actually the person who owns this card is the right owner. Therefore, the limit is removed. The thing that NatWest has forgotten is that there's a thing called Apple Pay and Google Pay on smartphones that also have fingerprint readers, and they do exactly what this card does, and they have way more. They have a much bigger advantage. So a credit card, even if it's a fingerprint one, you still got to carry it around in a wallet.
Yep.
With your other stuff, wallets get nicked, and generally wallets don't have good security. Once someone's nicked it, they can normally open it and go through it and look at everything, get the details they need. Someone nicks your smartphone, great, they've got your phone, but it needs your fingerprint reader to unlock it to actually use it. So they still can't use anything in there, and they haven't stolen the rest of your stuff because it's on the phone. You can send a remote wipe command to the phone. They can't access it basically if you've got all your cards stored on your phone. And everywhere I've been to, I can pay with my phone, and I have no limit on it either because I'm authenticating with my fingerprint. So this NatWest card is absolutely bloody pointless. This direct debit card, that's why it's failed, because you don't need it. Mobile phones sorted this problem out a few years ago when Google and Apple Pay came out.
Have NatWest given any indication why they're doing it? What their reasoning is for it?
None whatsoever. It's basically to remove the limit. But
okay,
your smartphone does that anyway. It's more secure than chip and pin. Yeah, fine. But again, your smartphone does that. Yeah, it's really not. It's really just bloody pointless, to be fair. So, just reading on here. So it's trialed again. It was trialed last year in South Africa, and piloted with an Italian bank last year, and it was a flop.
Yeah,
it's basically old technology. It's trying to keep a credit card around for the point of it being a credit card and adding a gimmick to it when it's not needed.
Yes, and as you shared with me, and then I posted on LinkedIn last week, if you're a modern forward-thinking bank or banking organization, the things that people want are not gimmicks like fingerprint readers on credit cards.
To be fair, if it was going to be successful, they've already tried it in Africa.
Yeah.
That would be the one country that it could be successful, because mobile phones are harder to come across and you don't have the connectivity. But if a credit card like this can't be successful in Africa, well, it's not going to be successful in any Western country where you've got 4G, soon to have 5G, and everyone's got smartphones.
Yeah, but you're right, and I'm sure even in Africa and stuff, they've all sorted payment systems out over there. There's different ones based off.
Oh yeah, through mobile phone numbers and SMS and stuff.
Yeah, it's all been sorted out. Phone is the thing. That's what you own.
Yep. So that caught my eye just because of how pointless it is. I thought it was useful to talk about pointless technology because you get so much.
Today on Google is their Google Doodle. It's 30 years of the World Wide Web today.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Tim Berners-Lee,
yes,
this evening is doing a live stream on, of all places, Facebook, to talk about the 30 years of the web with the Science Museum based in London.
He's also written an open letter, hasn't he, to say that the web isn't gone where he expected it to go.
Yeah, I was reading part of that this morning about the BBC has got quite a few clips that they put up there, and the one I was about privacy on the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's doing a proper talk later today. You can watch it live streamed on Facebook at 5 p.m. You just need to go to the Science Museum's Facebook page.
Sure, that'll be good.
And you'll find it. Yeah, I've registered an interest on there, so hopefully I'll get an alert when that comes on, and I'll be able to watch that in the background.
30 years isn't really that long. And 30 years ago, this guy created the HTTP. He created the protocol set.
What's interesting, though, is it's in technological worlds, that's a long time.
Yeah,
for a technology to stay around and essentially be the same for those 30 years.
Yeah, you're right. It is, in the technology sense, it is a long period, but in a non-technology period, it's not.
Oh yeah,
well, this is like SMTP, which is part of email. It's the basis of email, and that's been around since 1972. And it really, although it's been updated and modified, it still features facets from 72, which means it can't compete in today's world of security.
It's like that article I bought on the other day about Microsoft open sourcing the calculator program on Windows.
Yes,
and that's got code in it, still used today, code that's originated back from 1995.
Yeah. Why did they open source it? Just for fun?
To be fair, I don't know. They did. Microsoft's trying to be more friendly to the open source community now because they want to, because they're no longer the leaders anymore. They need to be back in with all the cool kids in the open source world.
Yes. Well, certainly, I remember every time Windows used to come out on different versions, and I've been in it since 3.11. You'd have a look in the Windows folder, and some
Utilities.
applications have been there all the way through.
Yep.
Yeah, they're still
Dr. Watson.
Dr. Watson's still there.
Yeah. Is it still on Windows 10? Is it still hidden in there?
I don't know. I haven't had a look in 10. I bet he is.
I don't think it's there anymore, but it had been in all the previous versions.
What did he do anyway, Dr. Watson? He's looking for something, isn't he?
Yeah, wasn't it some sort of antivirus kind of thing?
You meant to run it after an app crashed.
I thought it was more of a security program. Let's Google this while we're on here, so we don't sound.
I think with Dr. Watson, you're thinking more about Norton antivirus or something there, and I think Dr. Watson was like a bug catcher or bug trapper.
I promise, if you type in Dr. Watson,
you're going to get stuff about Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, Dr. Watson Windows.
Dr. Watson 32.
Oh, it's an application debugger included in Microsoft Windows.
Yes, there we go. Application debugger.
No, I remember having it like on my first computer, which was like Windows 3.2. Just clicking on it. What does this do? Never did anything useful.
In Windows 2000 and things like that, you'd run File Manager from 3.11.
It's Windows 7 when that actually stopped, Dr. Watson. Windows 7. What were you saying?
You could run File Manager from 3.11 in later Windows and stuff.
File Manager is great.
If you liked 8.3 formats for your file names.
What I loved doing on older Windows was building my own config.sys and auto.exe.bat.
So that when you booted up, you could have your own splash screen and stuff.
Well, it's to do that as well, but you could also do clever things with the memory and stuff like that, so that you could run games that weren't quite there.
Oh, okay, yes, I remember.
You could alter a lot of things on the computer.
Yeah, I remember those two files. Yeah,
and you could speed up the booting of the machine because there's quite a lot of stuff that you could just remove that wasn't really necessary to run the computer as well.
Yeah, this was back in the days of your base memory and EMM memory and stuff like that.
I had such a good one that I'd put it on discs and I'd give it to friends to run on their computers, and it was just what I'd done with it. I just managed to get the computers boot up a hell of a lot quicker and be better at running games.
It makes you realise how much computers in the late 90s and early noughties were much more like being a hacker. Like you could customize the software a lot more. You could customize the hardware with jumpers and things. Jumpers are little things that cover pins on a board on a computer so that you can adjust the settings on the hardware. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you wouldn't do anything. I can't remember the last time I saw you change the setting on hardware.
No, you generally brick it anyway if you did it now.
Yes, yeah, and brick it means break it so that it just becomes like a brick.
Yeah, it's only good for a doorstop afterwards.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it was a lot more geeky and hacky back in those days compared to today, where just pick up the phone. So
now we're going to go on to your rant.
Yeah.
Tell us about this diabolical telecoms company, but don't name them. We don't want to get done for liable or anything like that. So use a clever naming strategy.
No, I can't name this organisation. We spoke about them in the past. This is a telecoms company that provide phone systems and voice calls and all that kind of stuff. And they've signed our client into a 7-year contract, which was bad enough as it was.
They were in this contract before they became our clients. We need to make that clear.
7-year contract, which is just ridiculous. But by the by, so what happened was we said to them, well, how much would it cost to exit the contract with like 3 years to go? How much would it cost to leave? So I figured the cost of leaving would be you would have to pay everything you owed in terms of future line rental, future rental for the kit, the hardware that you got, any of the phones, etc. Perhaps some maintenance charges and things like that. When I got the bill through, I looked at it and realized that 50% of what they project, 50% of the cost was projected income for them from the phone calls that would be made. So that would be the revenue that they would lose by you not using the phone system anymore, which is ridiculous because you could just put the phone system down. You don't have to use it.
Yep.
So your exit cost would be 50% cheaper if you just left it where it is on the floor and walked away from it and said, you can come and get it in 3 years. I'm not using this anymore.
Yeah.
You can't. How can you do that? How can you say to somebody the cost of exiting your agreement is based upon the revenue that we would have made out of you if you'd used it?
exactly.
Outrageous, because I can literally just shove it up the corner of the room and say, I'll keep it. You can come and get it in 3 years, but I'm not going to use it because that's my prerogative. I don't have to use my phone system if I don't want to make any phone calls. There's no minimum legal requirement of phone calls I have to make.
Yep. It's just this nuts.
And that was on top of all the other things that this company had done to our client to get as much money out of them as possible and be as inflexible as possible. And it was almost like, are they taking the piss now? Is this done deliberately to wind us up?
I think it was.
Almost unbelievable. But then again, very believable because, and if you're a telecoms company and you want to come back at me and say that I'm full of it, then please do. I found most of them over the years to be not very ethical, very poor business practices, very interested in money, not very interested in their customer satisfaction.
Yeah, they don't give a shit once you're on a 7-year contract.
No.
As soon as you sign that piece of paper, that's it. They don't care. You'll get the phone system delivered and that's it.
Yeah, you're done. You're tied in for 7 years and we're not really interested. And so it's not this week particularly a rant about them, but I was gobsmacked. You ask someone how much it costs to leave an agreement, and then they charge you 50% of what you would have spent in revenue generating income over that period of time.
It's almost like me selling a house to you and saying, you know what, in 5 years' time, the house is going to be worth this much more. So actually, I'm gonna put the price up to cover that off.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. How much would it cost me to buy the house off you now instead of in 3 years' time? Well, it would have increased by this much, so I want that much out of it. Well, that's not how it works.
Yeah, exactly. That's not how business works at all.
Yeah, particularly if the reference was that you had to maintain the house. So if you just let the house go to rack and ruin, it wouldn't be in the same condition, so it wouldn't be worth the money. So yeah, it's completely irrelevant.
Yep.
But again, it was not surprising from this company. They're a dreadful organisation, and long may they continue to do whatever they want to do. I can't say any more about them.
Well, we're getting near our time limit now, so let's move on to recommendations. You've got Losers on Netflix.
Yes, Losers is a new show on Netflix that I spotted the other day, and it is about, as you can imagine, great losers in sporting history. I've only watched 2 episodes so far, and the first one was about a guy called Michael Bent who fought for the World Heavyweight Championship in the late 1980s against Mike Tyson, and he was a boxer. And it's a great story. This guy basically became a boxer because his father was a very, very brutal man who wanted his son to become a boxer because he'd failed, and he beat his son into boxing. So his son boxed to please his dad and to also stop his dad from beating him.
Yeah.
And he got so good that he got to be a contender for World Championship. And he won the World Championship by beating a guy in one fight. And then you know what boxing's like, there's different belts and things. So he went for the next level, which would be to get another belt, and that was to go fight against. I don't think it was Mike Tyson. It was another well-known boxer of the time, and you can see the video footage when he gets into the ring. The other guy's operating at a different level, and the guy who's being interviewed, Michael Bent, is saying, "I didn't even want to be there. I knew I wasn't worthy of it."
Yeah,
and he gets hit in the head really hard, and he goes in a coma, and then the doctors find out that he can never fight again because it will kill him. He'll die if he has a head injury again. And so Michael Bent then leaves, thinks about what he wants to do with his life, goes to Los Angeles and gets involved in the film Ali.
Okay.
Because Will Smith sees him in Los Angeles and says, he's the guy who can be my opponent in Ali. And so he goes and does boxing in the movies because he knows how to act like a boxer.
Yeah.
And he discovers that acting is his dream. And now he teaches fitness and acting and is a director and has brought a battle of boxing to the stage, to theatre. So he's done a boxing match and the story around a boxing match in the theatre. And it's a really touching story. This guy tells about how his father abused him, how he went down this whole wrong path. And he got to World Championship level, even though he hated it. And then he discovered what he truly loved, which was the creative world of acting. It's a really good story.
I saw that on Netflix. I haven't added it to my list yet, but I might do now.
And the second episode is about Torquay United, who were nearly relegated in 1987 and were saved by a police dog.
Don't spoil that for anyone.
No, I'm not going to spoil that one. There's a police dog in it. But it's good so far. Good show. It was good to see a UK thing. Seeing them interview people in Torquay is quite interesting for a Netflix show.
I've got 2 podcasts that I've I think I might have listened to one, recommended one before, Masters of Scale by
you
Reid
told-
Hoffman's the LinkedIn founder. And it's just interviews with other founders of generally unicorn companies that are worth $1 billion or more. So he's had the last episode was one with the lady founder of Flickr. You remember Flickr, the photo sharing thing? Well, she's now a big venture capitalist and is involved in lots of different companies. But it all started with Flickr, and it's basically how these businesses scaled up and how they managed their growth and got investment. So it's really, really very interesting for people, especially if you're starting out a business. It's talking about companies that are worth billions rather than small businesses. But there's always some good value in all this kind of stuff to listen to it. And it's just an interesting one. I'm interested in tech, and it's tech businesses that he's interviewing. So it's really worthwhile signing up. My next podcast is a short one. The episodes are normally about 12 minutes long each. It's called Coffee House Shots. It's by The Spectator. You know, I'm a big fan of politics, and I follow politics all the time.
Yes.
I find it very interesting. So Coffee House Shots, you normally get about 2 to 3, at the moment it's about 3 episodes a day because of what's going on with Brexit.
Right.
But they're normally about 12 minutes long, and they're kind of like small snapshots of what's happened in the morning, what's happened in the lunchtime, what's happened in the afternoon. And the narrative of the story behind the decisions, what's taking place. Like Theresa May, what can she do to get people to vote this way? Maybe she could do this sort of deal with somebody else. And it's all talking about the dirty backside of politics and how things go through. And
Okay.
it's really good. I like it, but you've got to be a fan of politics to find it interesting. I recommend it.
I'll give that one. I'm going to give that one a go because The Spectator is a credible journalist organisation, so that could be good.
Yeah, coffee house shots, that is. And then my other thing is just I had cancelled my Netflix because I didn't find anything interesting on it.
All right.
But they always get my subscription back so it was expiring as of yesterday.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden there's this Formula One documentary on there. It's almost like every time I've tried to cancel my Netflix subscription, something really good comes on just as I'm about to leave.
Why don't you just keep it? It's not exactly expensive.
The reason I don't keep it is just because I kind of want to stop watching it. And the way of doing that is by not having a subscription, but something always really good comes on. Because I prefer. Pardon?
Some time down. You gotta have some time to enjoy some stuff.
It's something I want to do, but I can't. It's just something I want to break in my head and not have to have Netflix, because I didn't have it before in the past, and it didn't bother me, and I don't mind not having it now, because there are parts of Netflix, periods of Netflix, where you might go 1 or 2 months and there's just nothing good on it at all, and you've hardly watched anything. And normally that's the point where I go, okay, I'm going to cancel my subscription. I'm not going to pay £7.99 a month for something I'm not watching. And then it always, just as it's about to expire, something good comes on.
I have seen that Formula One. Is it just one program or is it a series?
It's a series. But I've tried cancelling Netflix 3 times now.
Oh dear.
Over the last few years, and I've never been able to do it.
You have to get some more willpower, chap.
Yeah, I guess so, but I think it's just our algorithms are very damn good. They can see when my subscription is nearly ending, and then all of a sudden they're pumping out stuff on my feed that they know I like, and it works. They win. The AI wins every single time.
Yeah.
Amazon Prime always fails though, because that's just Amazon Prime videos is just pointless.
Yeah, I can't
Nothing good on that.
to Amazon Prime. I looked at the content, and nothing stood out to me.
They also make it difficult to watch.
Stuff. I don't need that.
Yeah, it's also not the easiest to watch, and the app's not great to use. Amazon Prime's good if you want to get your deliveries delivered on time, but delivered next day. But to be fair, I'm happy now to wait, 4 days or whatever is it, 3 days for a delivery to come anyway. So it doesn't make much difference to me.
Order it on Amazon Prime in 2 hours. Are just young people in offices who go watch this and then order themselves a Swiss 2 hours.
I've been a Prime member for many years, but I've decided not to renew it when it came up for its renewal.
I find Netflix their streaming system very impressive. I mean, it streams on my phone over a lot of the time.
This is the funniest thing. People moan about Amazon's quality of streaming. Amazon Prime, hosted on Amazon Web Services. Netflix is also hosted on Amazon Web Services. So it's streaming from exactly the same platform, the same system, but something's going on there. And you'd think it would be the other way around, that, hey, Amazon controls the actual platform that Netflix is on. Maybe they'll add a bit of lag to it. But it turns out that Amazon Prime is a worse experience than Netflix, even though they're both on the same platform.
That's interesting.
So the reason I know that is there's another podcast called Triangulation.
Yes.
And on Triangulation, they interview tech pioneers and just tech journalists. And so the last episode was a tech journalist. You might have seen it. It was a Wired tech journalist. Can't remember her name, but a couple of months ago, it was in the news that she tried to cut out the big five from her life. So Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. I think it might just be the big four then. I can't remember what the fifth one is. So they basically set up a VPN that would block the IP addresses for all these big companies, so that those services wouldn't run. So by blocking it, she can no longer use Netflix because it's hosted on Amazon Web Services.
Yeah.
It turns out the vast majority of the internet is Amazon Web Services.
Yes.
So if you block Amazon Web Services, you pretty much can't do a lot on the internet anymore. But it was just interesting. I was listening to that as I was driving over to my karting at the weekend, and interesting about how these four big companies pretty much control the internet and the back of the stuff that happens in the background of the internet.
Yes.
Literally, the only one that you can remove and it doesn't affect you too much is Apple.
Okay.
Apple makes it a bit of a pain in the ass to remove your stuff from their services, like your contacts from your Apple account, messages and things like that. They make it very, very difficult to move the stuff out of it. But once you have got the stuff out of it, they don't really affect anything else on the internet, Apple.
Yeah, and I can understand that if you say I'm not going to go on anything that uses AWS, you're out of luck because lots of stuff use that.
AWS is the biggest revenue generating service for Amazon. It's bigger than the shop itself. Selling the stuff they sell in the shop, AWS brings in way more money.
Yes. Yeah, it does. So and it's not hidden or anything like that, but I think a lot of people don't realise that that's actually how they made their money.
Yeah, you ask anyone in the street about Amazon, and it's going to be a shop that sells things online that gets delivered to your door. It's not going to be that it powers pretty much every internet, every website you go to. It's something like 60% or might be slightly more, 60% of the internet is powered by AWS.
Yeah. Yeah, all the apps and stuff like that. That's where it's all coming from. All your big apps and stuff and social medias and things.
Yeah, and they were looking at how many times devices would ping out to these services as well. And I can't remember what she said on one of them. It was something incredible, like it was something like 300,000 times in a day that her phone was trying to ping out to. I think it might have been AWS. It was either AWS or Google. Just massive, mad, exactly insane. But it's like you turn off Google as well. You block Google, then you've got a lot of problems as well because there's a lot of stuff that runs in the background on websites. So you've got advertising networks.
Yeah.
You've got Google Analytics, all those kind of things that are tracking you. But the biggest problem they had was Google Maps. Google Maps is the leading map provider. And if you block Google Maps, then you can't really get anywhere because there's no decent mapping service. And if you go on websites, normally websites, when they put their address up, they'll have a Google Map next to it rather than anything else.
Yeah. 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 You can try and fight it all you like, but you always end up in the pocket of some of the big players in the world. It's nothing to do with the Illuminati. I think it is literally the way that things work out in the natural order of themselves.
And look, it's capitalism. Something better will come along and it will kill these guys. They're not going to be around forever. They've just got a good cling on at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. Because Amazon have been around 20 years.
Yep.
In big form and stuff like that.
Oh, Blockbuster have been around 20 years or so, maybe 30 years. It made mistakes. Netflix came along, beat them. Netflix is inevitably going to make mistakes in the future, and something else is going to come along that's better.
Yeah. And on that one, James, Apple are releasing news about their TV streaming service this month, 24th, I think.
Oh, there you go.
And Disney will be doing it soon too.
I'm not too fussed about Disney because it's kid stuff. Now, I'd like to watch them with my daughter, but it's not enough for me to want to subscribe to them.
The thing with Disney is, and for a lot of Americans, Disney have got a massive back catalogue. They own ABC, I think it is, News. They own ABC TV, and they own all the Marvel rights. Disney own a lot of stuff. So if Disney pulls its catalogue from all the other providers and only makes it available through their streaming, that's a lot of stuff that will come off the other ones.
Well, I think Disney's already pulled their stuff from Netflix because there isn't anything on Disney on Netflix
Well,
as far as I can see.
thought that too, but then the other day I noticed that Beauty and the Beast 2017 version appeared on Netflix because my girls watched it, and I thought
Okay.
they pulled it too.
Yeah, I thought they had.
Yeah, but then there was a new one on there, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, for me anyway, Disney's not doesn't affect me too much. I imagine Apple's probably more scary for Netflix because you've got all the Apple fan people and everyone who's using iTunes are going to be automatically part of that service.
Yep. Well, that's been a good one. That's nearly an hour.
Yeah, we'll have to end it now. So hope you enjoyed that one, and we'll be back next week.
Yep, we'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.
Bye-bye.